President. And I now give the floor to the representative of China.
President, I thank Special Envoy Grunberg and USG Fletcher for their briefings, and I welcome the permanent representative of Yemen to this meeting. Over the past month or so, the situation in Yemen has escalated sharply, with the intensity of the conflict reaching its highest level since the ceasefire agreement was signed in April 2022. Large-scale clashes have occurred in Hodeidah, Marib, Hadramout, and other areas, causing significant casualties. Meanwhile, security risks along the Red Sea shipping routes have increased, causing widespread international concern. The most urgent task is to de-escalate the situation and prevent the conflict from further escalation. All parties involved should remain calm and exercise restraint to avoid further escalation. The current escalation in Yemen comes amid growing instability across the Middle East and is the result of the spillover effects of regional conflicts. The crises that have unfolded in the Middle East over the past 3 years are by no means isolated. To properly address the Yemeni issue, we must view it in a broader context of the Middle East, adopt a comprehensive approach to help de-escalate tensions across the region. To this end, I would like to make 4 points. First, we must promote peaceful coexistence among countries. Middle Eastern countries are inextricably linked and are permanent neighbors. Conflict and instability serve no country's interests. Israel and all relevant parties should fully implement the ceasefire agreement to achieve a genuine and a lasting ceasefire in Gaza. The international community should step up mediation, urge the U.S. and Iran to resume implementing the consensus reached in the MOU, creating conditions to resolve regional hotspot issues. We must support regional countries in pursuing dialogue to improve their mutual relations and to build a new regional security architecture that is suited to evolving circumstances. Second, we must fully respect the sovereignty of all countries. Sovereign equality is a fundamental norm of the UN Charter. All countries in the region are equal members of the international community. Their sovereignty, independence, security, and territorial integrity must be fully respected, and the safety of their personnel, facilities, and institutions safeguarded. The Yemeni issue must be resolved through a Yemeni-led and owned process. China supports dialogue and negotiations by all Yemeni parties to resume and steadily advance the comprehensive political process so as to achieve internal reconciliation at an early date. China supports Special Envoy Grunberg in continuing his mediation role. Third, we must firmly uphold international rule of law. The authority of international law lies in its consistent application. It cannot be applied when convenient and discarded when not, nor should the law of the jungle dictate the fates of regional countries. The international community must jointly oppose the use of force without Security Council authorization. When addressing hotspot issues, the Council must maintain an objective and balanced stance and play a constructive role. Freedom of navigation through international straits bears on the well-being of all countries, and safe and unimpeded passage through the Strait of Hormuz must be ensured. Civilians and the civilian infrastructure must not be targeted. This fundamental principle of international law must be observed. Fourth, we must advance development and security in a coordinated manner. Development underpins security. Without sustainable development, there can be no sustainable security. Yemen is facing one of the world's largest, longest, and most severe humanitarian crises, and the international community must take urgent action. China commends the work of USG Fletcher to this end. China recently provided a new batch of food aid to Yemen and called on all parties to increase humanitarian and development assistance for Yemen to prevent large-scale famine. The Houthi armed group should immediately and unconditionally release detained UN personnel and create favorable conditions for the UN to resume humanitarian assistance. President, China is a true friend of the Yemeni people and firmly supports Yemen in safeguarding its sovereignty and territorial integrity and pursuing peace and development. Together with the international community, we will continue to make unremitting efforts to promote a political solution to the Yemeni issue and restoring lasting peace in the region. I thank you, Chair. I thank you, President.
I thank the representative of China for the statement, and I now give the floor to the representative of the Russian Federation.
Madam President.